Welcome to the Spine-Chilling Stories, where you hear true horror stories around the world that are both creepy and chilling. So let's dive in. The Jinn of the Forest. The drive up to Murree Hills was filled with laughter. 4 friends from Pakistan had taken a weekend trip from Islamabad to escape the city heat. They planned to camp overnight in the woods near the Murree area, less crowded part of Murree, surrounded by a dense pine forest and local legends. They reached just before the sunset. The forest was beautiful, the pines raising like an ancient centuries. The air was cool and damp, but as the night fell, the shadows grew long, and the forest seemed to inhale deeply, silent, watchful, as if something was waiting there, watching them. Later that night, as they sat around the fire, roasting corn, sipping the tea, the woods grew unnaturally quiet. Even the crickets stopped chirping. Then comes the first laugh, a high, distant giggle that echoed through unnaturally between the trees. "Probably locals messing with us," Saad said, one of the tourists who came from Islamabad, with a nervous smile. But when the laughter came again, from a different direction, they all fell silent. It was unnatural. It was a mix between a human laughter and animals, like it didn't meant to be there. It was haunting. Bilal stood up, shining his flashlight towards the sound, but it only revealed mist on the side of the forest between the tree trunks. As they decided to pack up and head to the car, Ariba froze mid-step. "There's someone standing over there. There's someone standing over the trees, between the trunks," she whispered, pointing between 2 trees. But when others looked, they saw nothing but the line of the forest trees and endless mist surrounding them. Still, the air had changed. It was suddenly freezing, and the wind carried a strange metallic scent, a scent of a blood and a rotten flesh. Bilal's flashlight flickered and then died down. But it was impossible. It was fully charged flashlight. Sana screamed as she saw a shadow moved against the wind, gliding between the trees with unnatural speed. Back at their tent, Saad suddenly gasped and clutched his back. "Something just touched me! It touched me!" he shouted, spinning around. His jacket had 3 long, fresh scratch marks. They all backed away from the tent, which began to rustle violently from the inside. It was as if something wild has gone inside the tent. But when they looked, it was clearly empty. "No animals around here," Sana whispered, trembling. This isn't normal." They ran toward the road and flagged down an old pickup truck. The driver, an elderly local man, listened quietly as they explained. He nodded grimly and said, "You camped where you shouldn't have. The forest is not always empty at night," he explained. that the area they chosen was known as the Jinn Wali Ghati, which means the Valley of the Jinn, the name given by the locals. The locals avoided after dark. Many claim the Jinn there was territorial, attacking those who disturbed their space, and the most of the foreigners or tourists who came here were suggested to leave that place alone, to never camp there again. Back in Islamabad, Bilal began to having strange dreams or nightmares, always of a tall shadow figures watching him between the trees. Ariba refused to sleep near the windows, saying and feeling if somebody was watching her from the window, as if waiting for her to sleep so it can attack. The other tourists saw more spectacle one suffered a fever for 3 days straight and claimed he heard someone whispering in his name at night. The group never returned to Murree ever again. It was their first and last trip, which ended in disaster, which they never forget for the rest of their lives. Their trip, once a carefree escape from the city life, became a memory shadowed by something they couldn't explain, a memory of a haunted forest of Murree. The ghost of Mohatta Palace. Rashid was a retired police officer, newly hired as a night guard at Mohatta Palace Museum. It is one of the most famous palaces in Pakistan. It was his first night as a guard duty. As the last visitor left and the sun dipped below the Clifton skyline, Rashid made his rounds. The marble corridors were eerily silent. The once glorious palace now echoed with the whispers of past. He felt unease when he was taking his round, as if there was this eerie silence that gave off the feeling of hauntedness. As he walked past the main staircase, he heard a distant click of a woman's high heel on the polished stone. But when he looked to the hallway side, he saw no one and nothing. Around midnight, Rashid sat near the west wing reading a prayer book. Suddenly, heavy footsteps echoed from the upper floor. Raising cautiously, he followed the sound upstairs. As he reached the second floor, the noise suddenly stopped. But as he turned towards the long hallway, he caught a glimpse of a man in an old British-era military uniform, walking calmly into a wall and disappearing inside it. Rashid dropped his flashlight, determined not to let fear control him. Rashid resumes his portrait. He entered the library room and once the study of the original place owner. As he examined the cracked windows, a cold breeze brushed his neck. He turned, and no window was open. So where did this wind came in? Then he heard it. He heard the sound of a low, overlapping whispers in multiple voices, speaking in the language that was unfamiliar. Books began to fall from the shelves, one by one. Back on the ground floor, Rashid entered the grand dressing room. It was empty except for the large antique mirror. He approached, noticing something strange. His reflection was missing. Horrified, in the mirror stood a woman in an early 20th century sari, her face covered in blood-dyed veil. As he blinked, her reflection stepped forward. Horrified, he stepped back, but the woman pressed her hand to the glass. Rashid screamed, stumbled backward, and fled the room. He fled into the main ballroom, heart pounding aggressively. The air was thick, suffocating, and the chandelier above him suddenly lit up. True, the power had gone out. The temperature rose drastically. In the center of the room, he saw a charred outline on the floor, as if someone had burned alive there long, long ago. The outline began to smother, embers glowing red. Rashid bolted out of the room, choking on the smoke that wasn't there. Just before dawn, Rashid reached the front door, but he refused to open. As he turned around, every door in the hallway began to opening and slamming shut. Aggressively, the walls echoed with screams of unnatural things. The portraits lining the wall bled black ink through their eyes, and from the top of the staircase, the British soldier, the veiled woman, and the faceless child all stood watching him in silence. When the sun finally rose, everything stopped. Back to normal. The doors unlocked on their own, and never the other things can be seen. Rashid never returned to the Mohatta Palace. He left his job in hurry. He told his supervisor he'd seen something no living man should and never should have seen. He moved back to his ancestral village and never spoke of that night again, except once to his grandson. That palace, it isn't a museum, it's a prison for the souls that refuse to listen, for the souls who were cursed inside that haunted palace. For more stories like this, please subscribe to this channel and keep watching the spine-chilling stories.